Today we're working on algebra vocabulary, and our goal today is to use specific mathematic vocabulary to describe parts of algebraic equations. This will be very useful for us. Not only will it make us sound more sophisticated in math class, but it will also help us to understand when we're reading different directions and reading about equations. We want to be able to look back and talk about specific parts of the equations using the right terminology. You should have received a worksheet that looks like this in class today. If you didn't, that's all right. Just take a moment to record these different vocabulary words on some note paper, and you can make a table that looks just like this, because as we go through the video, I'd like you to record the definition and the examples to go along with them. The first word is actually a review word, and that's variable. A variable is a letter that represents a numerical value. Variables are n, x, w, or really any lowercase letter could be a variable. Of course, a variable does not always represent the same number in equation to equation. X might represent 3 in an equation, and then x could represent -3 in another equation. The next word we have is a new word, and that's term. A term is a number, a variable, or the product or quotient of a number and a variable. Terms are separated by addition and subtraction signs. Okay, I know there was a lot in there, so let's look at it piece by piece. We'll start by seeing some examples. Okay, 12, x, 2w, and c over 3 are all examples of terms. Well, let's see. The first type of term is a number. So 12 is a number. X is a variable. A variable by itself is also a term. Next, it says the product of a number and a variable. When I'm looking at 2w, I know that this is actually 2 times w. 2w is the product of 2 times w. C over 3, or 3 over c, is actually representing division. C divided by 3, or 3 divided by c. So this is a quotient. Okay. A number, a variable, the product of a number and a variable, or the quotient of a number and a variable are each terms. If we're looking at an entire expression or equation, we can count terms because they are separated by addition and subtraction symbols. A constant is a term that is a number. So if we look at these examples, 12, 1.3, and 2/5, these are all constants. They're called constants because just like when we talk about traveling at a constant speed, that means that we remain at the same speed. The number 12 is constant. It will always have the same value. From equation to equation, 12 always represents the same value. Okay? So whether your value is a whole number, a decimal, or a fraction, a number that stands by itself is called a constant. A coefficient is the number value in front of a term with a variable. So let's look at these examples here. If I have 2x, -3n, and 1/2 y, each of these terms is the product of a number and a variable. Okay, so here I have 2 times x. The coefficient for 2 times x would be 2. It's the number in front of the variable. The coefficient for -3n is -3. The coefficient for 1/2 y would be 1/2. It's the number in front of the variable. I can remember that what a coefficient is by looking at that prefix co. The prefix co means with. Okay. So whenever I hear a word that says co in the front of it, that prefix means with. A coefficient is the number with a variable. Algebraic expression is a term or a combination of terms and operations. Let's look at some examples. 2x, x, 12, or 7 minus 3y are all examples of algebraic expressions. When I look at 2x, x, and 12, these are all just terms, but terms on their own are algebraic expressions. An algebraic expression can also be a combination of terms and operations. 7 minus 3y is the combination of 2 terms and 1 operation. An algebraic equation is a mathematical sentence that states that 2 expressions are equal. Well, we know that because an equation has EQUA just like equal. Algebraic equations must have a variable, a number, an operation, and an equal sign. So if we're looking at these examples, I can see 2x plus 3 equals 13. I have a variable, I have an operation, I have an equal sign, and I have two expressions. 2/3 minus 1 equals 3 minus x. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. I have an equal sign, I have a variable, and I have two expressions. Remember that the value on one side of the equation and the value on the other side of the equation must be equal in value on both of these examples, and that's why that equal sign is in the middle. So we don't know what x represents here, but we know that 2x plus 3 is equal in value to 13. We don't know what x represents on this equation, but we know that 2/3 minus 1 is equal in value to 3 minus x. If you flip over your worksheet, you'll see an equation vocabulary example, and you can see the equation that I have here, 5x plus 9 equals 24. I've also included the different vocabulary words that we've gone over today. I'd like you to try independently to see if you can label all the different parts of this equation. So there is an algebraic equation here for you, so I've already labeled that as an equation. But I want you to try and label the rest. Can you find variables, terms, coefficients, expressions, or constants? Try and label them on your sheet, and tomorrow in class we'll see how you do. Great job. Remember that you can use these words and definitions when you're trying to talk about specific parts of algebraic equations in math class and any time that you're approached with an algebraic equation.